fact, I was joined 3-minute thesis at the national level as one of the participants representing IIUM. And this year, I am very honored to return here in this arena, but this time with a bigger role, which is to be your MC for today. I would like to thank you for joining us today for this inaugural virtual national 3-minute thesis competition. Moving right along, it is now my pleasure to introduce our honorable judges for today's parallel English, engineering and technology session. The first judge is Insinyur Muhammad Koharuddin bin Abdullah. He is the principal analyst and a senior manager in Malaysian Industry Government Group for High Technology under the Prime Minister's Department. Mr. Insinyur, how are you today?
I'm fine, Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Miss MC.
Thank you for joining us today. Our second esteemed judge for today is technologist Darwin Reza bin Sabri, the founder and director of My Conceptual Robotics, Sendirian Berhad. Mr. Technologist Darwin, welcome to the virtual IIUM platform. How are you feeling today?
I'm good, Alhamdulillah. Thanks for this session and all the best for the participants. Looking forward.
Thank you so much. Now, our third judge for today is Sir Kamarul Hisham Salehuddin, the head of the mechanical maintenance of the Pengerang Power Sendirian Berhad. Thank you, Sir Kamarul, for your willingness to join our event today. May I know where are you online from today?
Hi, everybody. Okay, Nabila, currently in Pengerang, Johor. So, in my office now. So, to all participants, I'm looking forward to hear your presentation after this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Kamarul. We are very grateful to have you here today to witness and also join us as one of the judges. Now, the 3-minute thesis competition is actually a research communication competition developed by the University of Queensland in Australia. It started in 2008. And the main premise of this competition is really to develop academic, presentation, and research communication skills. This is meant to support the development of the students to effectively explain their research in the language appropriate to an intelligent but non-specialist audience. And our participants today will have 3 minutes to present compelling orations on their research, their hard work thesis of many years, and also the significance of their research. Certainly, this is not an exercise in watering down or diluting or downgrading their research, but an opportunity for our students to consolidate their skills and also their ideas to explain their discoveries. Now, for today, each presenter will only bring 3 things on this virtual stage: the person, the text, and the slide. And they will be judges according to 2 criteria. The first one is comprehension and content. The judges will evaluate if they provided clear background and significance of their research question, how they describe their research strategy, and what are their findings. And most importantly, the outcomes and impact of their research on society and the nation. The second criteria is engagement and communication in terms of the clear oration and appropriate language to address the non-specialist audience, and to see if their slide is well-defined and enhance their presentation, and how these presenters convey their enthusiasm and maintains the audience attention. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will conduct this event in 3 rounds, in which there will be 5 participants in each round. There will be no Q&A in this semi-final session. And at the end of each round, we will have a short break to allow the judges to deliberate on the results. The judges will pick 1 finalist from each round and also 1 judge's choice from all rounds. And all these 4 finalists will then compete again in the final session of the virtual National 3-minute thesis competition this afternoon. On behalf of the organizing committee, We wish all the best to all our participants today. Now, without further ado, let us begin with the first round. The first presenter today is Brother Avicenna from International Islamic University, Malaysia. And Brother Avicenna will be speaking on machining, the manufacturing industry's driving force. Please welcome Brother Avicenna.
When we are talking about the manufacturing industry, the production of cars, airplanes, and even as mundane as pens, it is very difficult for us not to talk about machining, the heartbeat process of the manufacturing industry. Machining can be said as the cutting process of raw material, including metal, wood, or plastic, forming them into certain final shapes. But for most of the time, machining refers to metal cutting, literally cutting metal like iron or steel with another metal. Since we are talking about a very hard object here, the process is not simple. Any mistake during the cutting process can cost us a lot of money because the cutting tools and the materials are usually expensive. To overcome this challenge, we should focus on what we call as cutting strategy. The strategy to select the right type of cutter and to carry out the cutting process. It is very similar to selecting a kitchen knife to slice a tomato or a butcher's knife to chop meat, where both require different techniques. In metal cutting, the harder the material, the more complicated the strategy will be. Our research involves the determination of the right strategies to cut hardened steel, named as H13 steel, with a spinning cutter. We would like to know how fast should we spin the cutter? We call it as cutting speed. Or how fast should we move the cutter? We call it as feed rate. And whether we should cut the steel bit by bit or in a bigger portion each time, aka depth of cut. The final form is a pocket-shaped product with a small, tiny feature that requires precision cutting. The process is a big challenge because a slight error can distort the tiny feature, making the product ugly. We have been testing 13 different setups with results show that only a few strategies are applicable in the industries, while the others might either producing poor quality products or simply damaging the cutter. But in general, we know that the product quality will be better with faster cutter spin, slower cutter moves, or smaller amount of steel being cut at a time. Essentially, we are sharing the recommended setups, the production recipes, so the industry can save their time from going through trial and error when dealing with this specific type of material.
Thank you so much, Brother Avicenna. This research sounds so promising, and I'm sure it's going to be very beneficial for our industry. Now, moving on to our second participant today, Brother Ling Jin Kyong, who is representing Universiti Malaysia Pahang. And his presentation title is Its Battery. Please welcome Brother Ling.
Have you had the experience of swiping to unload your phone only to be greeted by that dreadful low battery indicator? Do you still remember the panic and anxiety that you felt when you saw the 5% battery remaining notification? It is as if a close friend is going to die, because with all honesty, your phone is your close friend. It's your personal assistant, your source of entertainment, your connection to the rest of the world, and so much more. In fact, the idea of going any amount of time without your phone is simply unthinkable. Batteries, my friend, have become our life support, and although other technologies like the processors and the data storage devices have advanced by leaps and bounds in becoming smaller and more efficient, the same cannot be said about energy storage technologies for the past few decades. Today, I have taken up this portability challenge. My target is to produce a lightweight and mini built-in battery with superior duration that will match the energy needs of future emerging high-spec smartphone and laptop technologies while still remaining portable. Of course, the manufacturers have tried to address this issue. They added materials to store more electricity inside the battery, but in the end, the result is a bulkier and heavier battery. This is similar to the case where we eat a lot of calories to gain extra energy, only to find out we have put on weight. Now imagine pocketing that overweight smartphone. Instead, I am giving the battery a new lifespan with a slim fixed size by harvesting energy from light. I'm working on replacing one of the components, the electrode, by solar cell, and therefore producing a battery solar cells hybrid as shown here. My research work shows that as long as this battery is being illuminated, 50% charge can be retained, and this amount can be even higher if we further modify the solar cells component. With our daily life illuminated 18 out of 24 hours, this design will significantly prolong the duration of the battery. You know how they say power is in your hand? I'm doing my part to make sure that at least the power source can fit in your hand as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Ling from Universiti Malaysia, Pahang. I can resonate well when you say that no one can live without your phone these days. And I'm very excited to know that you can actually convert that solar energy into the chemical energy that can actually turn on my phone. And I'm looking forward to your product. Now, we have come to the third presenter of today's session in the first round, which is Sister Nur Atikah binti Sazli from Universiti Malaysia, Terengganu. Sister Nur Atikah is researching on green hydrogen, the future of fuel. Without further ado, let's watch Sister Nur Atikah presentation.
Will you keep your current pet that leaves hairball on the sofa, pieces of food on the floor, or stinking vomit on your bed? When there's another pet that doesn't do all this, plus, this pet will only make you just as happy. My research is not about pet actually, but the analogy applied. Will you still keep filling your car using normal fuel that harm the environment when there is another better alternative? The world is now facing serious climate change. Eventually, it leads to heat stroke, dehydration, even that. What causes climate change? It's carbon dioxide emission. You created it when you drive using normal fuel. It is bad now, but climate change will get worse by 2015. According to United Nations, the world population will be 9 billion by then. That's 2 billion more people added to the earth over the last 30 years. Energy demand will surely go up, twice our current rate. If this is true, what will happen to our beloved earth? How will our children and grandchildren live back then? What can we do to help to reduce carbon emission? Simple. Stop filling our car using normal fuel. It's time for hydrogen to take the lead and offer the solution. Why hydrogen? Hydrogen is a clean energy source and it's non-toxic. It won't run out like other sources of energy. Hydrogen is everywhere, even in water. Imagine, our car is running on hydrogen and water as the only byproduct. Yes, only water. But before this can happen, we need to find a way to store hydrogen efficiently and safely. This is where my research comes in. My study focused on how to store hydrogen in a solid state form in a metal hydride. Metal hydride is a combination of metal and hydrogen. When you apply heat and pressure, hydrogen will be released and can be used as a fuel for our car. But there are two problems here. First, this metal hydride needs high temperature in order to release hydrogen. Secondly, this metal hydride has a slow absorption kinetic. So, I make this metal hydride with a catalyst to overcome the drawback. Surprisingly, this metal hydride can release hydrogen at a very low temperature, faster absorption kinetic, and give a better performance. So, my study has created hydrogen that can power up your car or truck, even a train. As a result, we can travel cleanly, leaving only a trace of water behind us. Next time, if you decide to choose normal fuel over hydrogen, please stop. Think of the earth that has given us so many reasons to smile. Think of our future generation. It's time for us to give the earth a reason to smile and conserve it for our children and grandchildren. Welcome to the future of clean energy, hydrogen energy. Thank you.
Wow, what a very enthusiastic presentation by Sister Nur Atika. Of course, if I'm going to purchase my first car later on, I will probably choose the car that can use the hydrogen fuel, and I would almost think of Sister Nur Atika if I do come across that choice in the future. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the next participant. Our fourth participant for the first round is Sister Nur Akhlisah bint Zulkifli from Universiti Putra Malaysia. And her presentation is levulinic acid, a treasure from the waste. Please welcome Sister Nur Akhlisah.
It is common knowledge that Malaysia, with its tropical climate, is one of the world's biggest growers of oil palm. As we all know, oil palm is the source of
All right, now that I can see that Sir Kamarul Hisham is now in the room with us. Let us continue with Sister Nur Akhlisah's presentation on levulinic acid, a treasure from the waste. Please welcome.
our famous palm oil. But what we have taken for granted is the waste from oil palm, which can actually be used to produce a very special chemical known as levulinic acid. So, what is so special about levulinic acid? This high-performance chemical can be used in many applications and products, such as skincare, cosmetic, food preservative, and even biodiesel. In fact, the United States Department of Energy has classified levulinic acid as one of the top 12 platform chemicals. The question is no longer about the application of levulinic acid, but how to produce it. My research is about how to produce levulinic acid from oil palm biomass waste, which give highest amounts of cellulose. Levulinic acid is obtained from cellulose. Cellulose is a simply long chain of individual sugar molecules strongly linked to one another, like a train. To produce levulinic acid, these strong links between the sugars must be broken, which can be done using a catalyst. This catalyst can be produced from oil palm biomass too, and can be used again and again, and this makes the whole reaction a green process. In order to produce this catalyst, I only need to burn the waste and introduce some chemicals to produce this catalyst. What's left is to find the ideal processing condition, and I will be on my way to obtain the highest levulinic acid yield. To investigate the quality of levulinic acid produced, it is further processed with a type of alcohol and blend it with biodiesel fuel to enhance its performance. Usually, we need to change the design of diesel engines to ensure any blends fits towards in the engine. But impressively, this blend can be used directly without any modification. I believe this project is another stepping stone in combining green raw materials, green processes, and green products as to contribute to the society, economy, and of course to our beloved planet. Instead of burning the waste, which can increase air pollution, why not we utilize this oil palm biomass waste into a valuable chemical? So, let's turn waste of yesterday into tomorrow's treasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Nur Akhlisa. I completely agree with you by turning the waste from yesterday into tomorrow's treasure. Now, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, professors and doctors, we are now at the 5th participant of today's first round of this engineering and technology parallel session. Our 5th participant is Brother Muhammad Fakhrul Razi bin Abdurrahman from Universiti Tun Hussein on Malaysia. And Brother Muhammad Fakhrul Razi will be talking on AeroCup, an adventure to the lung. Please welcome Brother Muhammad Fakhrul Razi.
50 months ago, the world became a very different place as COVID-19 was declared a pandemic. Today, I'm going to talk about how COVID-19 affected those who have respiratory problems and how my research will make a difference to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, patients who are positive COVID-19 and asthma are suffering from respiratory problems, and inhaler spacer helps to optimize the drug delivery to the lungs. However, the high demand for spacer in the hospital because of COVID-19 is causing a shortage supply in Malaysia. Due to import restriction on COVID-19 product, access to medical supplies, including spacer, is disrupted. This problem triggered hospital to use even plastic bottle and tissue paper roll as a spacer substitute, raising the concern that the drug directed to the lung might not be optimal enough to alleviate the symptoms. That's why my research aims to develop a comfortable disposable spacer called AeroCup, which can enhance the drug delivery to the lung. Firstly, the AeroCup was designed using a SolidWorks software. Then, its performance and the drug deposition was analyzed using a computational fluid dynamic. Lastly, the AeroCup was fabricated using a 3D printer. Ladies and gentlemen, the main function of AeroCup is to reduce the drug velocity because the high velocity of drug is vital in causing high throat infection. And AeroCup extends more times for the drug to enter the lung, so patient can inhale the drugs more effectively. As expected, AeroCup enhances the drug deposition to the lung approximately 58% compared to the inhaler alone, which is only 17%. This is why I meant by the adventure to the lung. In my study, more than 1,000 units of AeroCup were tested on COVID-19 and asthma patients in 12 healthcare centers across Malaysia. And I found that more than 80% of patients were satisfied with the design and its performance. Ladies and gentlemen, AeroCup offers numerous benefits, and the main benefits of AeroCup is that it is disposable and biodegradable, which is vital to avoid the spread of the virus and environmental friendly. So sharing is not caring in this situation. Well, after conducted the cost analysis, I found that the AeroCup price 40% much lower compared to the international disposable spacer. Last but not least, this study confirmed that AeroCup has a place in the single use of emergency setting, relieving the symptoms of respiratory condition. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brother Muhammad Fakhrul Razi bin Abdurrahman from Universiti Tun Hussein on Malaysia. I'm glad to see that there is an alternative to the usual spacer that we have been using in the respiratory problem. And I see that your technology here, the AeroCup, is getting, it has a very promising potential to be commercialized, and hopefully it will make its.
They could not think straight. They have trouble to organize their thoughts or make logical connections. They could be very affected that a simple task to us could be very difficult for them. Worse is, schizophrenia mostly affect the working age group, the breadwinners in the families, the engine behind a nation's future economy. The real issue is that schizophrenia is a complex disease and there's no single treatment to fit all. We know that the brain is mostly affected, but there's more to it. In my study, I'm looking at another body system, that is supposed to be protective to us, the immune system. It typically works to
My sincerest apology for the repetitive technical glitch we're having in this parallel session at the moment. If we do encounter such event, I would highly suggest that you go back to your option that choose breakout room to return back to this engineering and technology breakout room. So with that presentation from our fifth participant, we have actually reached the end of the first round of the engineering and technology category today. I would like to invite our three esteemed judges, Insinyur Kaharudin, Technologist Darwin, and Sir Kamaru to the Engineering and Technology Judges Room to discuss and deliberate on the results of the first round. Please be reminded that this judges breakout room is strictly meant for our judges only. I would like to gently remind the audience and the participants to not attempt to enter the judge room. Meanwhile, I highly encourage the audience and the participants to remain in this breakout room. As soon as all the judges are back in this room, we are going to resume the session with the second round. And stay tuned. Please enjoy the VT prepared by our technical team. See you in a bit.
Selamat datang, ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to the International Islamic University Malaysia, or IIUM. Your garden of knowledge and virtue. IIUM was established on the 20th of May 1983. The philosophy of the university was inspired by the spirit of Tawhid, leading towards the recognition of Allah as the absolute creator and master of mankind. IIUM triumphs to lead the way to become the Khalifah of Allah, to expand the culture of Iqra, to fulfill the amanah that is entrusted to us, and to realize the meaning of Rahmatan lil Alamin. IIUM has several campuses spread across several states of Malaysia, offering nearly 200 academic programs in 17 kuliahs and institutes. The main campus is in Gombak, Selangor, covering 700 acres, beautiful architecture with elegant Islamic style buildings. IIUM is blessed with majestic green forested limestone hills and a cool calming river, nature's wonders of flora and fauna, making it a conducive environment for study. KIRKHS is the largest kuliah in the university with more than 5,000 students. It was formed to integrate human sciences and reveal knowledge disciplines. The kuliah offers courses that bridge the divide between Islamic and secular sciences. Other kuliah of IIUM in Gombak campus are Kuliah of Economics and Management Sciences, Ahmad Ibrahim Kuliah of Laws, Kuliah of Engineering, Kuliah of Architecture and Environmental Design, Kuliah of Information and Communication Technology, Kuliah of Education, Center for Languages and Pre-University Academic Development, or CELPAD, and IIUM Academy of Graduate and Professional Studies. The campus offers complete range of facilities, including on-campus housing, a mosque, 2 state-of-the-art sports complexes with Olympic-sized swimming pools, a fully equipped library with more than 2 million printed and digital materials supported by online databases, a medical clinic, convenience stores, a post office, and 3 Malaysian commercial banks. The Kuala Lumpur campus at Persiaran Duta houses the International Institute of Islamic Civilization and Malay World, or ISTAC. ISTAC aims to proliferate studies on Islamic civilization and Malay world through learning, research, and exchange ideas and knowledge. The Kuantan campus is located on 1,000 acres of land, just like a garden within a valley surrounded by large greenery. This campus is well equipped with state-of-the-art technology for teaching and learning that offers medical science, pharmacy, allied health sciences, nursing, sciences, and dentistry courses. The IIUM Medical Center in Kuantan was built on 27.8 acres of land, equipped with 350 beds for patients and supported by more than 133 specialists. The IIUM Medical Center also includes the development of an undergraduate and postgraduate teaching hospital and tertiary level center, complementing the medical and allied health faculty provisions. Another IIUM campus, which is situated in the state of Pahang, is a center for foundation studies, which is located in Gambang. The Pago campus in Johor houses the Kuliah of Languages and Management, or KLM. The population of IIUM is about 26,000 students, 20,000 undergraduates, and 6,000 postgraduates coming from 117 countries. To date, IIUM has 91,257 alumni. IIUM will continue to be competitive in its mission to make Malaysia a global center of excellence for tertiary education. It will also continue to make significant contribution, one of it to serve the Muslim Ummah. IIUM, leading the way. Khalifah, Amanah, Iqra, Rahmatan lil Alamin.
We are a place of accomplishments. From humble beginnings, we have broken barriers and records. From the rawness of basic knowledge, we have instilled values. Values that inculcate the blossoming of minds and the bestowing of virtue. Our accomplishments have touched the lives of so many. For indeed, our infusing of virtue with knowledge has been the key to our success. Why are we always striving? Why do we keep pushing the boundaries? Why do we constantly try to bring out the best in each of us? Because here, no matter where you're from, you are accorded the same right to succeed. We want them to build a better future, where good is not just created, but sustained. We stand for excellence in our students, shaping their values and developing the world. We strive for inspiration in our graduates, inspiring their dreams into reality. We want to go beyond the imaginable and bring out virtue beyond any barriers. To improve the quality of life everywhere, physically and spiritually. IIUM provides the best conducive learning environment for all students, offering a wide variety of amenities in the pursuit of knowledge. Opening avenues to reach the furthest realms of enlightenment. The International Islamic University of Malaysia. The garden of knowledge and virtue.
Selamat datang, ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to the International Islamic University Malaysia, or IIUM, your garden of knowledge and virtue. IIUM was established on the 20th of May 1983. The philosophy of the university was inspired by the spirit of Tawhid, leading towards the recognition of Allah as the absolute creator and master of mankind. IIUM triumphs to lead the way to become the Khalifah of Allah, to expand the culture of Iqra, to fulfill the amanah that is entrusted to us, and to realize the meaning of Rahmatan lil Alamin. IIUM has several campuses spread across several states of Malaysia, offering nearly 200 academic programs in 17 kuliahs and institutes. The main campus is in Gombak, Selangor, covering 700 acres, beautiful architecture with elegant Islamic style buildings. IIUM is blessed with majestic green forested limestone hills and a cool calming river, nature's wonders of flora and fauna, making it a conducive environment for study.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, welcome back to the Engineering and Technology parallel session of the semi-final round of the National Virtual 3-Minute Thesis Competition. We are now entering the second round of today's session. Without further ado, let us watch the presentation from our next participant, Sister Dayang Siti Nurzaidin binti Abang Syamsuddin, who is representing Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. and her presentation entitled Fuel Cell, Safe Sources of Renewable Electricity. Please welcome Sister Dayang.
People use electricity every day and every second. Do you know that there is an alternative to produce renewable electricity? A fuel cell. Fuel cell is a device to convert biogas, which is the renewable fuel, into electricity. Fuel cell works just like battery, but the difference is it doesn't need to recharge. One type of fuel cell is solid oxide fuel cell, or SOFC. Now imagine if SOFC is implemented into a biogas plant. First, biogas plant will produce continuous amount of biogas, and then SOFC converts all the biogas into electricity, and voila! We get endless supply of electricity. Impressive, isn't it? However, biogas is explosive, and SOFC operates at a very high temperature. Combining those two lead to the risk of an explosion. But the question is, how big are the risks? This is where my research comes in. My initial findings reveal that the risk of an explosion is approximately 20%. Regardless of the risk, this is the next generations of biogas plant, and this will be our future. Due to its importance, many studies on fuel cells are being conducted, but are lacking on the safety aspect. That's why my research focuses on the safety analysis of the SOFC by predicting the impact and causes of the explosion to reduce the risk. But how? By using computational fluid dynamics, or CFD analysis, which is the analysis of the gas and liquid flows using simulation. Now, let's talk about a typical explosion scene in a movie. Usually, if an explosion occurs, people nearby will be thrown far away, right? This is actually true. Why? Because during explosion, blast wave is created, and this wave actually causes you to be thrown away. Definitely, we would not be able to see the wave with our own bare eyes. But using CFD, the blast wave can be simulated, or in other words, the wave can now be seen virtually. Hence, the actual size of the explosion and its impact can be predicted, as you can see from the slide. With this, the safe distance from the SOFC plant can be determined to avoid the explosion area. Ultimately, explosion risk can be reduced, thus making SOFC technology as the safe sources of renewable electricity. Until then, let's conserve electricity to preserve our future.
Thank you so much, Sister Dayang. I would imagine how beneficial and how useful your technology in.
I'm sure
your technology will be used not only in the renewable electricity, but I'm sure it can be applied in the other fields as well. Now let's move on to our second participant for the second round, Brother Muhammad Hilmi Naim from Universiti Malaysia Pahang will be presenting on predicting crack initiation and propagation with Perry dynamics. Without further ado, let us watch his presentation.
I'm sure we all remember the KL Eco-City Bridge collapse back in 2017 and the general feeling of unease that followed it. For me personally, it was a rude awakening because it reminded me how much blind faith we are putting in the structural integrity of the constructions around us. When you drive across a flyover and you hear that creaking sound, do you feel safe? When you're walking across the overhead bridge and the wind blows and you feel the bridge shift just a little bit beneath you, do you feel safe? Structural failures such as that which occurred with KL Eco-City Bridge usually start with a single crack. Right now, Our best bet for predicting where that crack will occur is using the finite element method. But the problem with this method is that it utilizes classical continuum mechanics, which is formulated using spatial partial differential equations. So once you detect the first crack, your model is no longer completely continuous, and you won't be able to predict the crack propagation as the spatial derivatives are undefined at discontinuities. So, what happens when you have a flyover that has a series of little cracks? Do we stop traffic every time and fix it up? Or do we replace it with the whole new bridge? In Malaysia, from my experience, during the design process, we usually just roll the dice. But the question I have to ask you is, do you feel safe? Fortunately, for our sanity and peace of mind, there exists a method called peridynamics that uses displacement rather than displacement derivatives, and therefore can predict fault lines and cracks even on a discontinuous structure. Using this advanced modeling method, my research contributes to the body of knowledge dealing with detection and prevention of structural failure before it happens. This way, we can reinforce structures in such a way that the imminent failure can be continually postponed, and we don't need a tragedy to tell us when to fix something. So next time you're driving on the road or walking across a bridge, remember peridynamics and rest easy knowing that in this concrete jungle we have built for ourselves, a group of researchers are working hard to make sure that you feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Hilmi. I would definitely take your advice next time I'm walking or driving over a flyover. Now, let's move on to our third participant for the second round. Our third participant is Sister Nur Shamini binti Muhammad Sabri. Sister Nur Shamini is representing Universiti Malaysia Perlis, and she will be presenting on evolution of sensor from sense of touch to plastic electronics. Let's hear from Sister Nur Shamini.
This morning, before entering the campus, my body temperature was taken. Why? Well, our body temperature gives information on our current health status, especially in this pandemic, global COVID-19. Back in the old days, temperature monitoring was done by regularly placing fingers on the forehead. Allow me to take you to neonatal intensive care units where a constant temperature monitoring is extremely important to the newborn baby, especially to those with special needs, like the one on the screen. Let's focus on the red circle on the baby. It is actually a thermistor that is taped on the baby's delicate skin to measure temperature. It is rigid and most probably not comfortable enough for a long-term usage. Do you know that in 2019, an estimated 80% of neonates suffered from pressure ulcers due to exposure of various medical devices, including the thermistors? What if I can see that it is the time to change the rigid part into something more flexible? My study is to find out that if it is possible to develop a new type of temperature sensor that is flexible enough to follow the contours of the baby skin for a more comfortable wear and to reduce pressure ulcers. Now, here comes the most important part of my thesis. In order to achieve that, so I set about answering two questions. First, what is the best moldable conductive material? Next, does the material exhibit a thermistor's characteristics? To answer question number 1, polymer is a material that is moldable, but being moldable alone is not enough. It needs to be conductive. Polypyrrole is one of the best available options. Polypyrrole belongs to a group of conducting polymer that can conduct electricity. To validate polypyrrole as a thermistor, characterizations of current voltage was done in a temperature from room temperature to 40 degrees Celsius, which the resistance increases, and when the temperature increases, resembles a PTC types of thermistor, thus answering question number 2. These findings show that polypyrrole can potentially be used as conducting as temperature sensors. Let's hope that the evolutions of temperature sensors from the sense of touch to rigid temperature and now moving forward to plastic electronics, polypyrrole will benefit our medical industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Nur Shamini. I have worked in an ICU before, and I can relate on your research question and how I appreciate how your research can actually bring an advancement and improvement to the medical device industry. Now, our first participant today is from Universiti Science Malaysia, Brother Omar Ali. Brother Omar Ali will be talking on towards improved IoT lifespan, one step closer. So without further ado, let's hear from Brother Omar Ali.
Do you remember the cold, tragic December morning of 2004 that terrified the entire world? People tried to flee as far as they could, clutching their loved ones to avoid the tsunami. About 200,000 people died that day. Such disasters not only take lives but also have a long-term economic effect. Tsunami-related losses have incurred more than $280 billion in past decade alone. We know that tsunamis are unavoidable and uncontrollable, but the seminal events of 2004 tsunami showed us that disaster management systems could greatly reduce the number of fatalities. Sensor networks are now placed in key areas to monitor tsunamis, triggering alerts hundreds of kilometers away. This can help to evacuate early and save precious lives. These systems are undeniably life-saving, but there is one major problem. They are battery-powered and have a limited lifespan. Because of the limited battery capacity, these sensors can malfunction before the alarms are even triggered. Since these devices are deployed remotely, their batteries cannot be charged or replaced. As a result, maximizing battery life for these devices is a critical research problem. Therefore, in my research, I focus on battery characterization to model the effects of different environmental factors on the battery life. I developed smart computer algorithms that can accurately identify the residual energy in batteries and report it to remote disaster management control centers. This is crucial to estimate the lifespan of these devices long before they fail to operate. Finally, I developed artificial intelligence-based algorithms to further conserve the energy on these devices so that they can last longer and provide critical alerts when needed the most. My proposed technique has added an extra month of device operation. An added month's lifetime is merely a beginning, but in mission-critical systems, every second matters. Not only can we now reach a longer lifetime, but we can do so without incurring additional costs or requiring design modifications. My research will enable extended sensing, which will add months to device lifetime, allowing people along the coast to be at ease and evacuate in time before unexpected tsunamis. Not only this, my algorithms can be extended to other applications such as forest fire, oil pipelines, leakage detection, and even to heart implants. The possibilities are endless, but the goal remains the same. That is to extend the battery life of these devices and save precious human lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Omar Ali from Universiti Science Malaysia. Your application sounds very crucial and very important for Malaysia and also for our neighboring country, especially when we are in the area where natural disaster could often occur. Now we have moved on. Let's move on to our final participant for round 2, which is Sister Radhika Gautam Gunaji from Universiti Technology Malaysia. Her presentation title is A Cost-Effective Biopolymer for Oil Recovery. Please welcome Sister Radhika.
Do you ever wonder how our ancestors managed farming without the use of chemical fertilizers or pesticides? I'm sure you all know the answer, and yes, you're right. Nature. Nature supplied them with the necessary sources. They used animal waste as natural fertilizers and herbs for controlling the pests. It ensured not only sustainable development but also responsible growth. Further, it was economical too. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the exact same principle on which my research is based, focusing on how nature acts in the oil and gas industry. In the petroleum industry, several oil recovery methods are being used to extract the oil from the earth. Because the natural energy present beneath the earth cannot push the entire oil to the surface. Hence, an external source of energy is required to recover oil. One of the methods is polymer flooding, in which polymers are added to water, increasing the viscosity similar to that of honey. The polymer solution is then injected into the oil wells, which pushes the oil to the surface. However, cost of these polymers plays a vital role, especially in today's time when the oil prices are fluctuating. In the recent years, biopolymers are getting more importance, and one such biopolymer named schizophyllin has proven to significantly enhance the recovery rate. But it is currently available as an expensive grade material because of the sources that are utilized in its production. This is what motivates me to conduct this research, where the biopolymer schizophyllin is made more cost effective by employing the local sources. Hence, in my research, this biopolymer was prepared from the fungus schizophyllin commune, commonly known as Cendawan kukur in Malaysia, scientifically combined with cheaply available sago starch and potato extract. The result, under high temperature, salinity and pressure conditions, the biopolymer solution resulted in an additional 18% oil recovery. Further, the cost of this biopolymer was reduced to $11.3 per kg. All the experiments were carried out as per the industrial standards. It will still take a long time before we replace oil and gas with other forms of energy. As a petroleum engineer, the least we can do to ensure sustainable development in the future is to act in the present. Make the processes more responsible by harnessing the power from the sources available around us. Let us take care of the nature, and the nature shall take care of us. Thank you all, and stay safe.
Wow, what a very convincing presentation from Sister Radhika Gautam Gunaji from Universiti Technology Malaysia. I never would imagine some of the food sources that are used in the kitchen could actually play a role in the petroleum industry. And I'm sure our judge, Sir Kamaru, would probably it could be relatable to Sir Kamaru as well, because this is mainly his field. Okay, everyone, now that we have finished all the 5 participants for round 2, we will have a short break again to allow our judges to deliberate on the results. So at the meantime, we will just stay in this breakout room, and we will resume again when the results have been finalized, and we will resume with the 3rd round, which is the final round of this parallel session this morning. Thank you, everyone, and let's enjoy the VT from our technical team. The judges are invited to join the Engineering and Technology Judge Room for the results deliberation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. A greeting of peace and a very good morning. In conjunction with the event today, I would like to touch on 3 major issues that concerns us especially at the International Islamic University, Malaysia. This is a university that was established in 1983 that looks forward to the future and try to make meaning of what the future is for us. In conjunction with today's event, there are three things that has been happening in this university that promotes the future as far as the university is concerned. We have been, in the last 1 year, preparing ourselves into a new paradigm of what university looks like and what education looks like given the 21st century. It is called Sejahtera Academic Framework. The word Sejahtera is a colloquial word that means peace, that means harmony, that means balance, that also means sustainability, a kind of the future that all of us wishes to see in the moment to come. And therefore, this Sejahtera Academic Framework lay out what the university needs to do moving forward in changing the paradigm of the education in Malaysia, if not worldwide. We are quite concerned of what has been happening in the last few months given the coronavirus pandemic, and therefore would want to make adjustment as to how we can accommodate the new challenges of the future so that education continues to be relevant not only for this moment but also for the time to come. And therefore this framework that we are working on today becomes a kind of a mission for us to define what the future is like as far as the International Islamic University Malaysia is concerned. The framework will serve to be a platform for discussion of what the new generation would want to see in the world that they want to create for themselves. What are the things that we can learn in the past that is no longer considered relevant as far as education is concerned? There are a number of things that we have identified. One of it that comes in very strongly is a question of the orientation of education itself. We believe education today is what I call weird in the context of it is westernized, Western-centric, it is economic-centric, it is industrial-led, it is reputational obsessed, and hence at the end of the day, it becomes a dehumanizing exercise for many of us. The coronavirus pandemic makes this very clear to us, and therefore it becomes incumbent upon us to look at new paradigm, to change what has been happening before so that we can have a better and a brighter future moving forward. Therefore, the Sejahtera Academic Framework becomes a thinking piece for us. This university will involve itself with discussion with members of the staff, students, and indeed the community around us, hopefully also a global community that is now here within our ambit in this particular event. Now, from this, we are beginning to look at what the coronavirus has done to many of us all over the world in the context of education. And therefore, we want to look at the coronavirus paradigm, as it were, and how these changes could affect not only this country, but also humanity as a whole. We have got what we call a model of 3M, moving from manpower, mind, and machines in the context of high tech to what we call the 3H, into humanity, heart, and also high touch. This shift is a very valuable shift for us because it brings in new values of how we need to deal with the future given the pandemic that is affecting all of us. As far as you are concerned, the values of sympathy, for example, the values of empathy, and the values of compassion is nowhere to be found in our curriculum, in our education system as such, be it systematically or be it just periodically as such. And therefore, it becomes important for us to focus on values of this nature so that education can also be seen as a kind of a globalizing factor that brings people based on values that all of us can share. And therefore, social solidarity, social bonding could be enhanced. And here's one of the ways that all of us agree how to fight against the coronavirus moving forward. Until and unless we can act as humanity, until and unless we can agree on what is it that we can do together, there will be very little chance for us to win this war against the coronavirus. And therefore, education must be the platform for us to build this kind of a rapport within the context of education, just as much as sustainable development has been used in this particular context. And I would like then to urge all of us to look at this event as an event where we can all together agree on the things that we need to do so that the futures can be well.
Professors and doctors, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, welcome back to the parallel session of the Engineering and Technology in the 3-minute thesis national level competition. The judges have finalized the results for the first and the second round. We are now in the third round of this session today. Now, we have another 5 participants in this third round. The first participant is from Universiti Malaya, Brother Muhammad Faiz bin Muhammad Zaki. Brother Muhammad Faiz will be presenting on Can You Seek When You Can't Peek? Let's hear from Brother Muhammad Faiz.
I used to think that the internet just works. You click on your favorite YouTube video and it pops up on your screen, and that's it. But with more than 30 billion connected devices, which is more than 3 times the global population, there must be some way of managing those devices, right? The answer is network traffic classification. Now, you might ask what network traffic is. Is it the same as the traffic that most of us got stuck in every evening? Well, it's almost similar, but a better analogy would be posting letters. Remember when we used to post letters? We write our contents on a piece of paper. We secure that piece of paper in an envelope and off it goes into the post box, starting this journey to the recipient. And along the journey, the postal service classifies or sorts the letters based on destination countries, cities, residential areas to help them deliver efficiently, just like the photo that you see on my slide. Network traffic is very similar to this. In fact, it's actually almost the same thing. When you're watching videos or commenting on YouTube, your machine sends out YouTube traffic to the servers in an envelope known as packets. A collection of these packets makes up the network traffic that travels your network to reach the destination. However, current technologies only classifies them into generic categories such as video or email traffic to help with the delivery, which is less efficient. And on top of that, let me tell you a terrifying little secret. The majority of available enterprise solutions these days, they technically peek into the contents of your packets. Hence, in my thesis, I study an approach to classify network traffic into more granular levels, the application, and the specific actions within the application. For example, YouTube, the application, and YouTube command, the action. I did this by characterizing the network traffic using statistics based on its payload. A payload is the content of our letter that we wrote earlier. But in my thesis, I did not peek into what we have written as what most enterprise devices do. Instead, it turns out that I can achieve my aim by computing just the statistics based on the payload, such as the average payload length and the payload range. Then I pass these statistics to 2 algorithms which are chained together to classify the network traffic intelligently. As a result, we can now manage the traffic more efficiently than before. We can differentiate between YouTube and the non-YouTube video traffic, among others. We also know with greater details what is currently traveling through our network. So in the future, with this information, we hope that it can pave the way to many other critical technologies, such as precise parental control and enhancing our network security. And the best thing is, we achieve all of this without even peeking into the actual content of our payload. No peeking.
Thank you so much, Brother Muhammad Faiz. No peeking. I'm going to take that as a take-home message from your presentation today. Okay, let's move on to our second presenter in the third round here today. Sister Nurliana Nasuha is from Universiti Malaysia Sabah, and Sister Nurliana will be presenting on nutrients recovery from sewage. Please welcome Sister Nurliana.
Nutrients can be recovered from sewage. What are nutrients? Nutrients are nitrogen and phosphorus, which is the basic building blocks for all living things. As for you to know, protein is rich in nitrogen and phosphorus. And other than that, urine, stool coming up from our body, contains nitrogen and phosphorus. So that's why sewage are rich with nitrogen and phosphorus. Because of high population, the amount of nitrogen and phosphorus are increasing. Other than that, nitrogen and phosphorus are also the main element in ammonium sulfate fertilizer. Ammonium sulfate fertilizer alone can cause releasement of tons of nitrogen dioxide to the air, which are deadly to us. For you to know also, nitrogen and phosphorus are very hazardous to us. At a very low concentration, nitrogen can cause blue baby syndrome that can be fatal to the babies, as at 1 milligram per liter. 1. Phosphorus and nitrogen, if accumulated in lakes or rivers, it can cause eutrophication or algal bloom that is deadly for the aquatic livings. Are we going to let this happen? Of course no. That's why we treat all these nutrients in a process called adsorption. What is adsorption? Adsorption is actually a process where we adsorb all these nutrients on the surface of adsorbents. Wait a minute, what is adsorbents? Adsorbents act like a sponge where it attracts all these nutrients on its surface. Adsorbents can come from various materials, and nowadays people are using waste as adsorbents, such as crustacean cells coming from the seashells, marine waste, or carbonaceous materials such as from the bark of tree or corn cob. Waste can be used as adsorbents, and if you combine many types of adsorbents, it can actually increase the adsorption capacity based on our results. Lastly, the nutrients can be recovered from the adsorbents in the form of liquid fertilizer and can be used in plantation. In this case, we can reduce the cost and save the environment. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Nurliana from Universiti Malaysia, Sabah. I'm sure a lot of us who are plant parents here, those who are who love to plant plants, especially with the indoor plant trend in Malaysia right now, would probably look forward to your technology and your product soon, Sister Nurliana. Now let's move on to our third participant in the third round, Sister Lee Hui Jing from University Tenaga Nasional. Sister Lee will be talking on electricity cutoff, fret not. Please welcome Sister Lee.
Imagine that you are having a romantic dinner with your sweetheart, and suddenly there is electricity cut off and it goes blackout. You must be like, oh no, and how you wish if the power supply could just resume instantly, right? So here I present to you TPV, thermal photovoltaic, which is able to convert heat source to electricity supply. Well, the very first question that might pop into your mind is that, so what is the difference between TPV compared to solar cell, which is commonly seen on the rooftop of a building? Well, technically, solar cell operates under sun temperature with a maximum 40% of output power efficiency. Now, what if we could have some special type of solar cell to harvest waste heat energy at a higher range of temperature, and most importantly, with a higher output efficiency? To tackle the two limitations aforementioned, TPV is the solution. TPV can be placed at the power plant generator to improve the overall plant efficiency. On top of that, it can be also placed as a backup power supply at the transmission line down to the distribution station. Therefore, with TPV, just in case if there is any electricity cut off, you will be like, no worries, my sweetheart, electricity will resume in just a few seconds. So my research performs experimental characterization on different types of TPV cells, and we investigate on firstly, of course, the output power efficiency, and secondly, to identify the operating range of temperature. Now you'll be very surprised to find that TPV could actually harvest waste heat up to 2000 degrees Celsius. And guess what? The most promising one is that TPV could actually generate 300 times of current density compared to solar cell. Wouldn't that be amazing? Before I end, there is a quote which sounds like this: even if we could reclaim a very small fraction of heat of what we have released to the surrounding, that would actually give a very significant impact on our energy use. Hence, TPV for a better environment, and most importantly, there is no more the oops moments during any electricity cut-off. With that, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Lee. I can totally relate when you mentioned about the having dinner with your family and then suddenly
when we see
cut off the electricity. Hopefully we will have your product soon in the market so that there won't be that oops moment again in the future. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let's move on to our fourth candidate here, which is Sister Nur Izyani binti Safi'i. Sister Nur Izyani is a PhD candidate from Universiti Technical Malaysia, Malacca. And Sister Nur Izyani will be talking on graphene-enhanced perovskite solar cells stability. Please welcome Sister Nur Izyani.
Normally, when we see solar panels, what comes to our mind is, wow, they must be rich people. Am I right? I bet everyone knows that solar energy is beneficial to the environment. But have you wondered why the solar panels are not widely used at every housing? In the solar energy community, the most constant issue to solve is how do we build solar panels that have lower production costs but greater performance? Nowadays, we can see that our electronic devices are evolving. They are becoming smaller. The same goes to the solar panels. Researchers are eager to reduce the size of solar panels and find a suitable material that can reduce the production cost. For my PhD, I'm doing research on perovskite solar cells, which is classified as the third generation solar cells. Why? In less than a decade, the performance of the perovskite solar cells has already surpassed 25% efficiency. With this outstanding performance, perovskite solar cells have risen as promising solar cells that opens up to the light and flexible application as compared to our current solar cells, which are bulky and rigid. However, the problem arises when the perovskite material itself tends to degrade because it's sensitive to moisture and not stable in ambient condition. Thus, these perovskite solar cells can last over prolonged time. So the question now is, what material can we use to prevent the perovskite material from degradation? In the material engineering world, graphene is known as a wonder material that has unique properties such as high electromobility, which leads to great thermal and electrical conductivity. And what important is, it is hydrophobic, transparent, and flexible. In fact, we can synthesize graphene from abundant and cheap material, which is graphite. Here is the deal. In this research, graphene is incorporated as the top layer in the device to wrap and protect the perovskite material from exposure to the surrounding, and at the same time acting as an electron transport medium. In addition, the graphene layer is expected to block the moisture from entering the device as it is hydrophobic, and since it is transparent, it will not be blocking the sunlight, which is the energy source of this device. Hence, by using graphene, we will have stable perovskite solar cells with great performance and lower cost. Therefore, I hope in the near future we can provide solar panels not just for the rich people anymore, but for everyone. Not only on the rooftop, but everywhere. It can be on our electronic devices, vehicles, or even fabric. It's not impossible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Nur Izzani. When you mentioned about how people are considering the solar panels, but then they find it that the cost might stop them from purchasing it. I'm probably one of them, especially in this pandemic where we all stay at home, we work from home. Our children are having online learning. The electricity bills does really go up, and I'm sure that the other audience in this room today can relate to that as well. And we all look forward to having a more affordable solar panels to, as well as to help with our earth and also our environment, inshallah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now reaching the final participants for the engineering and technology category today. We have Sister Amni Haslinda binti Alpandi from Universiti Technology Petronas. Sister Amni will be talking on reducing paraffin wax using Jatropha-based inhibitors through deposition investigation. Let's all hear from Sister Amni.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introducing myself, my name is Amni Haslinda binti Alpandi, PhD in Petroleum Engineering, Universiti Technology Petronas. Today, I would like to present my research entitled Reducing Paraffin Wax Using Jatropha-based Inhibitor Through Deposition Investigation. Basically, upstream oil and gas involve the transmission of crude oil inside the pipeline from the reservoir toward the production well. There are many flow assurance problems occur during the transportation of crude oil inside the pipeline, and one of the major problems is paraffin wax deposition. Due to the extreme cold temperature environment inside the reservoir, the deposition of wax on the surface of coal pipeline occur when the inner wall temperature drops below wax appearance temperature, and wax appearance temperature represent the temperature at which precipitation of paraffin wax start to occur. Beside the temperature, concentration, and the shear rate are several factors affecting the wax depositions. So how to overcome this problem? There are three types of wax mitigation method, which are thermal, mechanical, and chemical. However, thermal and mechanical are expensive and the production need to be stopped during the mitigation process. Therefore, the uses of chemical treatment such as wax inhibitor are more prevalent and the chemical can be added without stop the productions. Nowadays, the uses of wax inhibitors such as 3-ethylenamine and ethinyl vinyl acetate poses toxicity problems when it exposed to the nature. Therefore, recent researchers suggest the use of natural plant-based inhibitors such as jatropha seed oil, castor seed oil, and crude palm oil. In my study, I would like to suggest the uses of jatropha seed oil because of its availability, it is cheaper, environmental friendly, non-edible, and can be used in wide range of type of crude oil. By solving these root cause problems of paraffin wax deposition, the flowability can be improved and the production of crude oil can be increased. At the end of the day, the processing of crude oil and the process of crude oil can be used in our daily lives, such as petrol for our vehicles and in the plastic industry. By using jatropha seed oil, we can also save the environment without any toxicity. That's all from me. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Sister Amin. I love how our participants are actually promoting sustainability through their product, through their innovation and technology. Especially Sister Amin's technology here is very crucial and can see the potential, because in Malaysia, we are heavily relying on our petroleum and oil and gas industry. As the saying goes, and to every beginning there is an ending, and now this parallel session has come to its end. The judges are invited again to the Engineering and Technology Judges Room to deliberate on the results of the third round. Meanwhile, the audience may leave this breakout room and join the main room where the science category is happening, or the social science breakout room. Once again, thank you everyone for gracing our event today with your presence. We truly appreciate it. On behalf of the organizing committees, I would like to apologize if we have done any mistake throughout the event. Please do not forget to join us in the final session of the virtual National 3-Minute Thesis Competition 2021 this afternoon, which started at 1:30 p.m. Please log into the same Zoom link, and also you can watch at the same YouTube channel. With that, I end my duty here as a master of ceremony for today's session. With wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And I would like to contextualize this meeting today is what we call celebrating IIUM 2020.
Hari ini, Perintah Kawalan Pergerakan dilaksana di seluruh negara bagi mengekang penularan COVID-19.
Perintah Kawalan Pergerakan mulai 18 Mac 2020 iaitu lusa hingga 31 Mac 2020 di seluruh negara.
Let me reassure you, as far as I am concerned, the situation in the university is well under control.
Universiti Islam Antarabangsa Malaysia (IIUM) menghasilkan prototipe robot yang boleh membantu doktor berdepan dengan pesakit dengan membuat saringan dari jarak jauh. Robot yang diberi nama Medibot dibangunkan pakar robotik kuliah kejuruteraan dan kuliah teknologi maklumat komunikasi. Dilengkapi alat kawalan jauh bervisual, doktor berinteraksi dengan pesakit tanpa perlu bersemuka. Pasukan khas ini terdiri daripada pencarah, pentadbir dan pelajar yang tinggal dan menginap di kampus Gombak. PPE yang dihasilkan akan dihantar ke Pusat Perubatan IIUM di Kuantan Pahang dan lain-lain hospital yang akan dikenalpasti oleh Malaysian Relief Agency MRA.
Sementara itu, Universiti Islam Antarabangsa Malaysia (IIUM) mencatat sejarah sebagai institusi pengajian tinggi pertama di negara ini tersenarai sebagai finalis untuk 2 penganugerahan lestari antarabangsa. 2 anugerah itu adalah anugerah Green Gown antarabangsa dalam kategori institusi lestari terbaik dunia dan anugerah memanfaatkan masyarakat menerusi program Light.
Change the stereotype image of Islam and Muslims in the world.
Anugerah ini merupakan pengiktirafan bagi universiti untuk membuat satu perubahan atas kepakaran yang telah diiktiraf oleh bangsa-bangsa bersatu dalam hal ini.
Kit yang kami hasilkan atau kit kami ialah kit pantas atau kita panggil rapid test kit menggunakan teknologi iaitu nanoteknologi.
Thank you once again, and I look forward to working with you closely for the year 21, 22 and beyond, and I hope we can come together in a more cohesive way after this when we start looking at the roadmap 2021 to 2022 and also taking other initiatives like the Sejahtera Academic Framework and other things that will come by as we move forward in trying to understand what the future will be like.